If you had something to say to the pastor, what would you say to him now?
Well, so, I mean, it's very simple, right? I think that in a place like Nigeria, you can say it's ambiguous. You can say it's not clear, that I don't know or I didn't know what I was supposed to do. But remember that I said that even if you say you didn't,
Ignorance is
precedent exists. You have seen a very similar organization like yourself go through a particular process. So if you are now being asked to account for 1.87 million pounds, and the UK government is able to hold you to say there's a lack of transparency, these monies have been spent, there is no clear trail of how the money has been spent. So essentially, that means that you've not been keeping your books accurately, or you've been treating it as whether it's that you were treating it as a personal purse, or you were just bad at accounting, or you just gave a couple of examples of things that churches do. It could also very well be that this money had been spent in a purely honest way, and it was just pure accounting. But we don't have, at least I don't have enough information from what I've read about this to show that the church has been properly investigated. So I don't believe that they have responded yet. But the investigation is still ongoing. What I would say for this pastor, and in fact, not this pastor, because his own case is irredeemable now. At least the investigation church has been shut down. But for pastors that find themselves, particularly in the UK, particularly outside of Nigeria, don't take Nigerian anyhowness abroad. It's not going to work. There are clear rules. Ignorance is no defense. You need to learn what the rules say you can.
I was going to say that. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I just saw the picture. I was going to tell them to put on the picture. They said they are looking for 1.9 million pounds. The shirt is wearing. Let them start from there.
But I don't even want to go down that route, because there are many ways in which you can make money. So I come back to the KICC example. At the time when that issue happened, Pastor Matthew wasn't actually drawing a salary from the church, right? He chose to make his own money from his other businesses, right? And a lot of pastors do that. So I don't even want to look at that. But this one now is really, we can't keep seeing these things happen. And you know what it does? What is sad for me is that it shines a negative spotlight on the church, on the Pentecostal, these churches of Nigerian origin. We have plenty of them. So it begins to shine a negative spotlight on that, in the mind of the UK government or Charities Commission. Do we now need to start looking into all Nigerian, faith-based organizations? So the fact is, I want to believe that most of these people are doing the right thing or want to do the right thing, but you can't hide behind ignorance. And the tune of money, 1.9 million pounds. Even Naira, 1.9 million is money, comes up of pounds, and we know what the exchange rate is. So it's a lot of money that we're talking about that has gone, that is allegedly unaccounted for. So you can't have that kind of money passing through your organization and you don't have a proper structure to manage it. It's not going to end well, as we can see here. So the guide for other pastors, like you said, there's enough precedent. If you're in the UK, if you're in the US, if you're outside of Nigeria, in fact, even if you're in Nigeria, put proper governance structures in place.
Absolutely.
So that you put your faith, you position your faith in the right light. We've had so many different discussions on the show. I remember when Sanzi and I were talking about the pastor and the private jets. And I'm like, can we just do enough to put this faith in the right light and not keep having to talk about money when we talk about the Christian faith?
Absolutely. Mani, I was going to ask that if he comes back eventually to then what's it called, account, do a proper auditing, they come to the system, is it possible for him to be redeemed back, reinstated, right?
Yes, of course.
So all he needs to do is just be accountable, right?
Yes, if that really is what the issue is.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. If you had any final words?
Yeah, final words. I'll say for us in Nigeria, our regulators don't know the regulations. Yes, so I would say that the CAC is a government agency, and our government has a record of being inefficient and corrupt. So if the CAC is the body that is supposed to be regulating the NGOs, we see why there's a problem.
Means that there will not be some way forward. A lot of messages are coming on Peter Obi. Obviously, they are watching us on GoTV. So we're not taking those messages. But I mean, this is why you see a lot of churches, a lot of pastors harassing people, you know, saying donate, donate, donate. Because when they donate that money, nobody goes back to account. Only very few churches. And I must commend my church, Daystar.
I would like to commend the Elevation Church. The
Elevation Church, because he's a protege.
Yeah.
He's a protege. He was trained well by Daystar Christian Center. I mean, when you go there, you know that it's an organizational structure. They have a proper structure. It's not like, you know, this is a one-man kind of thing. So if Pastor Sam decides to say, I'm retiring from pastoring, the church goes on.
And that's one of the benefits of the NGO. It's supposed to continue.
And that's also what the Catholics, you know, the Anglicans, the Baptists, those are the structures that they have
in place,
right? So I think all these things that we're talking about when it comes to churches are more linked to the Pentecostal churches, the modern churches and all of that. If not, if you look at the old structure of churches, they had all those structures in place, right? So hopefully, like Uti has rightly advised, if you are going to, you can only try this in Nigeria. You're going to the UK, I mean, please, there is actually supposed to be an ideal business structure for running a non-for-profit organization. I think it would be best for you to follow through, cross all the T's and dot all the I's, so you don't be caught, you know, wanting. Thank you so much, ladies. We had a fantastic, this has been a blissful week. Let me just leave it there. Thank you, Uti. We had a fantastic conversation. Now, before we go, do follow us on Instagram. You can follow us, interact with us, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. The real development I've seen of people in organizations, especially in big ones, comes from their being volunteers in a non-for-profit organization where you have responsibilities, you see results, and you quickly learn what your values are. There is no better way to understand your strength and discover where you belong than to volunteer in a non-for-profit. Now, that is probably the great opportunity for the social sector, and especially in its relationship to business. A lot of great things happen in churches. A lot of great things happen in non-for-profit, right? So let's not abuse it. Let's learn the structure and put the structures in place. We'll see you guys live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent.
On the button, send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
On the breakfast, as litmus test for the 2023 general elections in the country, we take a look at the conduct of the Ekiti state elections with Biodun Oyebanji as the winner. Also on the breakfast, Nigeria leads the world in the number of cases of sickle cell disease. According to a report, with an estimated 150,000 babies are born annually in Nigeria with the SCD, a hereditary disorder, 70 to 90% die before age 5. What exactly is sickle cell and how can it be treated? Don't forget, we'll also be looking through today's papers, analyzing the biggest stories on our national dailies. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Many thanks for joining us on The Breakfast. I am Messi Bokpo. Well, as always, on The Breakfast, we start off with our top trending conversation. We're talking about conversations that have been generating reactions and people talking about it in different parts and in different spaces in our country. Now, top on the list for us is the APC's Biodun Oyebanji winning the ticket of the governorship elections in Ekiti. Finally, the elections happened on the 18th of June 2022. The Ekiti people have decided. Now, this election is very critical because it's been described as an election that is the closest to the 2023 elections. And some people would say that whatever happens in this election would just be what we should anticipate ahead of 2023. We still have the Osun State elections coming through. However, INEC declared Biodun Oyebanji winner of the 2022 Ekiti governorship elections with a total vote of 187,057 votes. Now, his closest challengers, if you like to say, of the SDP and the PDP. Now, the SDP scored 82,211 votes, with the PDP having 67,457 votes. It's called for a lot of questioning and reaction. Now, if you look at it, 16 candidates actually contested the elections. And the question about the thought force is still on the front burner. Nigerians are saying, hey, we're tired of, having the dominant political parties in our space. But what happens? A lot of people will think that, ahead of 2023, Nigerians will look away from the dominant political party and go for a different party entirely. Some persons are saying the thought force, but that's not necessarily the case. Now, other persons are saying that our democracy is under threat, where you have less than 200 people deciding who becomes a governor in the state. Now, what happens to the total registered numbers that we have? I mean, you have registered voters of 989,224 registered voters, and then you have, 360,753 votes casted, minus, the votes that were nullified and other issues. That's a lot of question, but it would definitely be a build-up, to the conversation that would have in the course of our conversation as we move forward. But the question of apathy is number one on the table. Another issue, again, is the issue of, hey, are we going to follow the binary politics of having two dominant political parties. Of course, we always follow that. If you see, the developed climes that always tilt towards the two, party. You seem to have multi-party system, but the people always tilt towards, certain political party, and that's what it is. Now, others have said that it is dependent on the electorate, who are very lazy and who have constantly acted differently and decided not to look away. Another issue that was very dominant is the issue of get your PVC, go out there and cast your vote. But on the other hand, you also find that there were reports of vote buying, and we saw videos emerging where people were very, very proud to say, hey, I sold my vote, with a little change that they have. I practically counted some of those notes that I saw, 2,000 naira, if you want to say, 1,500. But you see, that's the reality of our politics. Away from that, we also look at another conversation. It's around the 2023 elections. Of course, it's the eve of the election, you want to say. The possibility of having the NNPP and the Labour Party having a merger. Now, in 2015 in 2022 today, or however you want to put it, it's a combination of a thought force. Remember, now, opposition party, 4 of them came together and formed a party that actually challenged the Goodluck Jonathan administration in 2015. And at the time, we're talking about the PDP. Now, one thing that was very certain is the fact that there was no doubt whatsoever that the PDP didn't see that coming, that there will be a merger or a thought force that would definitely come through to challenge those in power. So a lot of conversation is going. Let's not forget that the Labour Party, you have Peter Obi, who is a former governor of Anambra State, who is actually the flag bearer. And this is the talks, because we have that. I hope to, bring that tweet the way it is or the way it's been quoted. Now, Nigerians will be happy with the outcome of the NNPP and Labour Party discussion, according to spokesman. The National Publicity Secretary of the new Nigerian People's Party has said that the outcome of his party discussion with Labour Party would be satisfactory to Nigerians. Now, by the time we're done with the discussion between the NNPP hashtag and the LP, Nigerians will be happy whichever way it turns out, and this is according to reports. So there's a tendency, and there's been a big question of having a thought force. This is the thought force that Nigerians are looking forward to. Is that possibility of having a thought force in 2023 is also another question. How possible would that be? We're looking at 2 parties now. I mean, do they have the structure? You need to also understand that it takes a lot. But if that's the case, what happens? How come we have not seen the reflection of a thought force in the Ekiti state elections and in the Osun state elections? Is there going to be the presence of a thought force? And that's it. But we move away from the second top trending. It's been generating several reactions in different spaces. And we get to another interesting issue, which talks about security. Now, a presidential candidate, of course, of the All Progressive Congress, we're talking about former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his convoy was actually attacked. Now, if you get to the microblogging platform, there's been a lot of reactions. And people are saying that the hashtag there is hashtag staged. And so you see a lot of people saying this is actually staged, and we think that, oh, this is just supposed to get sympathy. Let's not forget that this is politics and anything can actually happen. But also, we cannot look away, and we can also not take our eyes away from the real issue. The issue is that the country is plagued with insecurity. Insecurity is on top of the front border. We see a lot of security threats. I mean, a lot's been going on in different parts of the country. And so should we rule out the fact that, there are security challenges, whether this is actually staged or not staged? I mean, this is what it is. You see broken glasses, and you can see that on the screen, some persons who've sustained injury. I mean, will anyone go to this extent to stage this? For what reason? Why? When you have lives being under threat and properties being destroyed. But it behoves on the security personnel. I mean, it behoves on the Nigerian police and every other agency responsible, because it is government's responsibility. It brings us back to the fact that, these issues are not, do not respect anyone. It doesn't really matter whether or not you are the governor or the president or an aspiring president or an aspiring aspiring governor or you're aspiring to become anything, security is a major concern. And that's why we keep saying that we need to be on top of the issue. We cannot sit back, fold our arms and hope that we do not do anything, because you never can tell what it is. But we are hoping that the bodies that are saddled with the responsibility would swing into action. We're hoping to get more reports. Investigation should be on this particular issue to find out who those who are behind this kind of act. It's actually very dangerous. I mean, anything that poses as a threat to national security should be a major issue and concern. Not necessarily because he's a presidential candidate or flag bearer, but the fact that he's a Nigerian, and that's most important. And the fact that not just him, but you also have, members of that convoy being attacked. I mean, you can actually see that the Lagos State Government's office. So yes, the question here is that we're hoping that the police would wake up, rise up to her responsibility, and investigate and bring those responsible to book. That's what it is. Well, these are some of the conversations generating different reactions on different spaces. Also within the week, we have the issue of having the mass burial for the Owo massacre victims. Very, very sad. And it still reminds us that we need to take security very, very serious. Government needs to understand that security is top on the front burner of every government at different levels. That's it on the top trending this morning. We'll take a break. When we return, The Breakfast continues with our front pages. Stay with us. Good morning.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take?
I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science.
Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory?
The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thought and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Like, no question. He's a living legend.
God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
It's not just the parents that have to do this. We put a lot of emphasis on government, we put a lot of emphasis on schools, but the service sector is completely left out of this conversation, and it's really important because they touch the families every day.
When we are making intervention, at the back of our mind, that plan that you're drawing up should also say on X amount of times or hours, you as the parents have to have X number of training.
Not just about the training, okay? So as we're collecting data in the center, you're collecting data at home. We give you the exact same plan.
From my own experience is that the children are usually the best advocates.
Absolutely.
Because the children have been informed and they have also experienced it, we find that they tend to go home and tell their parents the appropriate things to do.
Welcome back. It's The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time for us to go through the pages this morning, bring you great perspective, analysis with our guests. But we'll start off with the Leadership newspaper and take you through all the papers that's been made available by our paper vendor. Well, like I mentioned, on the Leadership this morning, very bold, is you must reject candidates who did not participate in primaries. That's what the Leadership is saying. SANS CSOs to INEC. You must reject candidate who did not participate in primaries. The big question would be, should we state the obvious? I mean, if you did not participate in the primaries, do you need a reminder not to have them on board? But that's what it is. INEC cannot promote impunity, illegality. That's what the civil society organizations quoted to say. Case of Lawan, Akpabio, their violation of electoral act. This is what SANS are quoted to say. May China insist on legal action over Yobe North APC senatorial ticket. I mean, you're talking about that of, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan. He lost, and he wasn't part of the primaries for that position. But let's see how all of that pans out. Another rider underneath says, Akpabio name will be on the ballot. According to the aide, no report suggests names were forwarded to us. INEC is quoted on that. And Nigerians are saying INEC needs to keep up with its energy. ISWAP kills 6 commuters, injures 2 in fresh Borno attack. Very sad headline. Terrorists kill 3 worshippers, abduct 46 in Kaduna. Another sad one there. Kwankwaso will not be Obi's running mate. NNPP is quoted. But there's a possibility of a merger, not necessarily meaning that you would probably have, Kwankwaso becoming a running mate. But let's see how all of this unfolds as we get close to 2023. Healthcare patients bear brunt of outage and high diesel costs. This is according to investigation. You're looking at the healthcare sector in Nigeria. Court holds action on e-custom concession project. And Ted Fund to release 15 billion naira for National Library projects. I know in certain states where, the library is nothing to write home about, with 2 professors in that particular state. Very sad. And I don't even know what the culture of the library is right now in our country. 18 die in Bida minor road crash. That's what you find. Ekiti poll after landslide. Oyibanji promises to work for Ekiti people. Now you have all of the details that you need. The registered voters, you have 989,222 accredited voters, 363,438, 351,865 valid votes and rejected vote, 8,888, 360,753 vote cast, and 36.74% percentage of turnout. How would you actually put that out? You also find, those who top 3 contenders. You have the SDP, the PDP, and the APC right there. But that's it on the Leadership. Let's move away from the Leadership. Take a quick look at the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. On the Daily Independent, forex scarcity, untamed inflation puts Nigeria's economy at risk. Now, you also have the World Bank saying that you are going to have a lot of Nigerians in poverty in 2022, about 15 billion, if I'm not mistaken. That's what you find. And all the quotas are saying the projection for inflation by the World Bank, Nigeria has exceeded. At the time, we're looking at 15 point, but right now we're looking at 17.71%. That's a lot to grapple with. Ekiti poll, Sarab gives INEC 7-day ultimatum to prosecute vote buyers. 18 persons feared dead in Niger auto crash. NYC member, 5 others die in Bielsa boat mishap. That's a lot of bad news. And why Atiku dumped Wike despite PDP recommendation. Okowa and I are incurable optimists in Nigeria's future. This is what, the flag bearer, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is quoted to say. Terrorists kill 3 worshippers, abduct many in Kaduna Church. Oni rejects Ekiti Gubo polls result as PDP Kolawole concedes defeats by congratulating. Ekiti Gubo elections, Buhari, Tinubu, Lawan, Sanwo-Olu, APC congratulates Oyebanji. That's also another rider or caption you find this morning on the Daily Independent. Tinubu returns to Lagos amid jubilation by party supporters, and VAT miscellaneous charges crippling airlines operation. Abgar National Women Leader joins Labour Party. Well, it's not surprising because we see a lot as we move closer to 2023. Now, on the Nation newspaper, huge crowd gives Tinubu a rousing welcome to Lagos. Uzodinma Ganduje, Buni Shatima orders on trip with APC candidate, ex-Lagos governor visit Oba. Find out which of the Obas we're talking about now. Terrorists kill 3 in attack on 2 churches. Bandits kill 3 in Imo. 13 mourners abducted in Edo State. Rivers government files charges against Amechi others. Ripples over Okowa's nomination widen in PDP. And Oyebanji promises new dawn in Ekiti. You find different riders, but for the want of time, we just need to move away and quickly look at the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, Ekiti governorship elections, APC, PDP clash over vote buying. Oni's camp molds legal action. PDP came distant third. Desperate to bring back Renews regime, says APC. APC is what? Electorate find it difficult to make rational decision. That's what the PDP is quoted to say. Elections fraught with violence. We will challenge it at tribunal. SDP coalition agent is quoted. The former governor of Lagos State, Tinubu, returns to Lagos. 6 massive local government votes and hoodlums attack the convoy. Some people say that that's actually staged to attract sympathy. Debt servicing doubles, hits 896 billion naira in 3 months, according to the DMO. 6 IOCs remit unpaid 386.4 billion naira proceeds this month, according to the NNPC. And foreign airline kicks as federal government blocks $450 million ticket revenue. People are tired of Lawan. Let him go and rest. You find out the China Yobe position on that. And stock investors lost 767 billion naira in 1 week. Federal government, World Bank, AFD to fix 53,730 kilometers rural roads with $575 million. It feels like we're talking statistics and figures this morning. But just before we move away from the Punch, you find Lagos power firms technician falls from electricity pole and dies. Really sad. Another one says Ogun gunmen take cigarettes, foodstuffs, free abducted church leaders. Really. Lagos orders record 36,482 tuberculosis cases in 2 years. And another one says, Benue Valley becomes gunman's haven, 92 resident killed in 3 months. Very sad and unfortunate. Kidnappers demand 150 million naira for exchange of the NFF officers abducted after Abuja wedding. And JAM registrar chids politicians buying 100 naira million nomination forms. This is the headlines you find this morning on the Punch newspaper. It's time for us to have Okunabon Katari, a public affairs analyst, who joins the conversation this morning. Okunabon Katari, it's good to have you join us this morning via phone. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great weekend.
Yes, good morning, Mercy. I'm not too sure of a great week.
a country like Nigeria, but we give up the glory.
All right, then let's start off with the Leadership newspaper. On the Leadership, you have the SANS and the CSO saying to INEC, they must reject candidates who did not participate in the primaries. Now, one case that is very popular or seem to be making the rounds on our papers is the case of the Yobe North, where you have the Senate President and Machina on that particular one.
Well, first and foremost, the election, there's a lot of holdback.
But we can hear you clearly, Okunabon Kataria. Just go ahead with your thoughts.
Okay. First and foremost, the law is clear on the issue of substitution. The person, the candidate, must voluntarily write to the party and say will be transmitted to INEC. Or in the case of death, the party will still write to INEC. And you have to conduct fresh elections. A situation where the Senate President felt he could go for the presidency of the country and at the same time have somebody to secure the senatorial ticket is wrong. I think we've gone past that stage in politics. And it is also mandatory for you to participate in primaries that will be supervised by INEC. And so if you never did, how come did you get the votes? I mean, it's simple logic. How did you get the votes that made you a candidate? So if you never participated in the primaries, not just participation in primaries recognized by INEC, you are not a candidate. Even if the party declares you one, you are not. Not to talk of a situation where the party has declared somebody else as a candidate and you want to use your puissance, your office to steal, that is called stealing, to steal that ticket from that candidate. And I'm very happy that the person involved has sworn to resort to court should INEC recognize this other person. And it is sad that the name of Lawan, that's the Senate President, is the one on INEC's cover. So I'll urge the candidate involved to go to court and let the court decide it.
All right. Still looking at the Leadership newspaper this morning, you also find, I mean, the fact that over the weekend you have a mass burial for the Owo victims, I mean, those who were massacred. Now, terrorists killed 3 worshippers, abduct 46 in Kaduna. That's one. Another says the ISWAP killed 6 commuters, injured 2 in fresh Borno attack. What's really going on with security? The big question is it that we're helpless? What exactly is going on? Can we not? Don't we have what it takes to address, the security issues? Those who are committing this crime every other time. Are we helpless as a country?
We've been discussing these issues. It's now it's a broken record, so to speak. On daily basis, we hear of kidnapping, killing, and what have you. We're almost in a lawless society if we are not there already. We have a government that is insensitive, a government that has not spoken, a government that is rudderless. And it's either the government, I keep saying this, it's either the government is complicit, which is my settled conviction, or the situation has overwhelmed this government. But I'll opt for the former. The government is complicit. And the last time on this very station, I had to bolster my passion. I talked of the former IV of police. I talked of the former service chiefs who are now ambassadors. I talked of the issue of monies that were released to the service chiefs, and nothing was bought to combat this madness. So I feel a government share inertia on the part of the government to address, sincerely these issues. That's my take on it. I don't forget that there were suggestions that if the government is at sea as to how to address this issue, then let us invoke the assistance of the US, Israel, and some other countries that have the know-how. And the government said no, with a very reasonable, ridiculous excuse of sovereignty. Well, how does that impact on your sovereignty? Don't you buy equipment from them? And funny enough, these countries know exactly what is happening. They are just waiting for you to call on them. They know. They know where the terrorists are because they have the equipment. They have what it takes. Look at it, an American was kidnapped. What happened? Within how many hours? They came, rescued him. Out of shame, Lai Mohammed came on air to say they were aware of that operation when they were not aware of that operation. When America invaded Israel, 19 minutes entered it. Israel was taken unaware. Is it Nigeria? If I were to invade life house today, will he know? If I say he knew when the Nigerians knew when the Americans came in, they took permission. That's a lie. That's a lie. So we need these people. There is no shame about it. It's normal. Look at Ukraine today. It's calling on the United Nations to assist it. It's a normal thing. If these people are going to offend you, swallow your pride and invoke the assistance of countries that have the expertise, that will know how to address it. Otherwise, I tell you, my dear, the country is headed slowly to a rendezvous with anarchy. And we will not have any country after now to talk of a sovereignty. So let us swallow our pride and invite those that will contain the situation.
Well, some people have actually said that they're very disappointed with the APC government, especially where this government came on the heels that we will take care of the issue of security in 2015, and this is what's going on. Away from that, let's look at the Daily Independent newspaper. Forex scarcity, untamed inflation puts Nigeria's economy at risk. Now, that's what the Daily Independent is saying. The World Bank has also said that the inflation shock has a tendency, or is going to push Nigerians, 15 million of them, into poverty between 2020 and 2022. I mean, we're looking at 2022 right now. The word there is untamed inflation, and we're talking about scarcity of foreign exchange.
Well, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. First and foremost, we run a money economy. And so once the oil is affected, the oil supply is affected, the charge chain is affected, it affects the economy. That is one. Number two, we are now in the political season. These days, our politicians don't bribe anymore with naira. That is almost as useless as a tissue paper. They use the dollar. And we hear as much as $30,000, $40,000 per delegate. Times the number of delegates in the country. That, of course, will stimulate inflation in the country. What is inflation? Too much money, purchasing sky, little goods. It's as simple as that. So, and what do you have now? Of course, the prices will skyrocket. So that is responsible for inflation in the country. Principally, we are talking of the oil market that has been affected, the oil price, and now it's being festered by politicians that bribe their way through the process with dollars.
Opunabo Kataria, I mean, you say we run a money economy, and that's very true. But for how long do we need to continue in this particular circle? Don't we understand that we run a money economy?
Experts have been clamoring for diversification of the economy. When Nigeria had the first universities, when Nigeria's economy was booming, we relied so much on cocoa and granite. And we developed the region. There was competition, healthy competition. We developed the region with processing from cocoa and granite. But because we had leaders, when the military came in, we now had leaders with limited knowledge, intelligence. And so, with the discovery of oil and the rating of oil in the international market, there are sectors of oil in the international market, agriculture was abandoned. What of Israel? Israel survived on agriculture. And our leaders just believe, easy money, that there is no need. Let us abandon this agriculture. We have oil. Lack of focus. And that is what has led us to where we are today. We would have still had the agriculture economy and the oil economy and even diversify it, because we live in a country that is blessed with human and natural resources in abundance. So it all boils down to leadership. Poor leadership. Poor thinking. You remember we once had a president or head of state who said the problem with Nigeria is not the money, but how to spend the money. How can a man say that? How can money be too much for a country? It's not possible, which means your knowledge is limited. Look at Dubai today. What are we talking about? Yesterday, these were companies that were coming to Nigeria for assistance. But today, we rush to Dubai for everything. On daily basis, if you go to Dubai in 2 years, if you went to Dubai in 2 years, and you went there last year, there was a difference. If you go there this year, there is a difference. That is development. They know what to do with the money. But we had a head of state who said the problem with Nigeria is how to spend the money. These are the problems, you know. It has always been with leadership. And that is why we are where we are today. But it is not too late. So if we diversify our economy, and we have good leadership, not leaders that will freeze our treasury dry.
Okunabanka Zaria, good. I mean, these leaders will not fall from the sky or will not fall from heaven. So the problem is with the leadership that we have over time, because we seem to not, from what you're saying, it's not that we're not in the know of what is going on with us as a country. You have mentioned that we're running a mono economy, and so we probably do not do so much. Now, you have also mentioned the issue of leadership as a problem that's not providing direction. And so who then is responsible for the kind of leadership that we're having, and that up until this moment we have not been able to get it right? Diversify the economy, if that's the issue. We constantly have talked about it from the time of independence up until now. You want to look at the development plan, 1966 or thereabout, till this moment. It was always hinged on borrowing, dependent on external funds to source, or to fund the plan. And how do you borrow, to fund a plan?
That's to do with rudderless leadership,
So who's responsible for the kind of leadership that we have? Who's responsible?
Now, that's what I'm saying. I answered that when I said the electorate, Nigerians, you get the leadership you deserve.
How so?
Now we are talking of the electorate who collected money. Although most of us faulted that system because you disenfranchised Nigerians. You stole their right of choosing who will emerge as a candidate. It was quite easy. The direct primary would have been a lot better. No matter how cumbersome, it would have been a lot better. Now, having said this, they bribe you, you collect this money just that will satisfy your needs, just for a very brief period, and for the rest of the 8 years, you're in poverty, you're in penury. So that is where the awareness comes in. That is why we tell Nigeria, collect this money. The money is here, but vote your conscience. Let's say, for example, now we have a Peter Obi. We all know the qualities of Peter Obi. I'm not campaigning for him because, in all fairness, he's my candidate. So let somebody say he's campaigning. He's not my candidate. But you have somebody like a Peter Obi. We all know the qualities of Peter Obi. If you have to vote, why not vote for Peter Obi, for example? You have a man like an Atiku. As a vice president, you saw the economic policies and so on. If you know, you are convinced that a man like an Atiku can deliver, why not vote for an Atiku? That's why I keep telling Nigerians, forget about the basic scholarship of I am a PDP man, I must vote for a PDP man. I am an APC man. No. I, Ogunabo Christian Kotaria, might vote for YPP for assembly, will vote for APC for House of Reps, PDP for governorship, WWW, excuse me, for president. That is the way I will vote. Not along party lines. The choice of my area will depend on that candidate. That will determine who I will cast my vote for. I don't give a damn about your party. Because at the end of the day, it is when the chips are down, we all are going to suffer for our wrong choices, or we are going to enjoy the beneficiaries of our sagacity, political sagacity. So, my dear, I am not interested in parties, and I urge Nigerians to also toe the same line and abandon this imbecilic followership if we need to get it right in this country. Because we know that we have leaders can get it right.
All right, moving away from that, looking at the Punch now, it talks about the Ekiti governorship elections. The APC and the PDP clash over vote buying. Oniscam Mall's legal action. I mean, vote buying is, we actually saw that, not having to wait for any sort of investigation. We could see individuals who were very proud of saying that they sold their votes, and of course they got the change that they got. But what are your thoughts on this one? The fact that you have the SDP not agreeing to this and saying that they are going to pursue a legal action.
Well, it is within their rights. If they believe that there is an infraction, why not you subject it to the clinical prognosis of the legal lab, and there should be a judicial pronouncement on that. Like you said, some people vaunted that they sold their votes. Now, the truth is, when you talk of rectitude, there is a thin line between rectitude and hunger. It is quite difficult to talk of rectitude, to preach rectitude to a poor man whose son is on the sick bed, who is finding it difficult to feed, who cannot afford his transport fare to the next effect, and you come and talk of rectitude. Meanwhile, the economy was, the resources were squandered by the same leader. So as far as these people are concerned, this is just an opportunity for them to take what they can take. Because the next 4 years, even if they vote for you genuinely, they will not see the dividends of that democracy. These are some of the reasons. But then we have to educate them. If PDP is alleging fraud, electoral fraud, no problem, you go to court and the court will decide. These things will also further if they have evidentiary proof. And the judgment will further enrich our jurisprudence. So I have never been adverse to anybody going to court on any issue. The more you go to court, the better for Nigerians, because the more decided cases we are going to have, the more our jurisprudence will be enriched. So anybody who wants to go to court should go to court, if you have enough proof. But what I'm against is wasting the time of the court, going to court for going to court reasons without any justification. It must be justiciable. Then I don't have a problem with that.
No, but some people are saying that INEC should understand what is obtainable here, especially when you're talking about the Electoral Acts 2022. That should INEC go ahead, declaring a result or a winner, when it could outrightly be seen, especially when you also could see officials of the EFCC around and during the, election ground making arrests. Some people are saying that INEC should have done something differently other than what they have done.
Well, it is within the bias, within the part of INEC to so do. But again, INEC might be seeing it from a different perspective. The only advice I will have for INEC is that should the court confirm in this pronouncement that there was an infraction, and INEC went ahead to declare somebody that ought not to be declared a candidate, a winner, then the image of INEC is at stake. However, having said this, that is why you have the courts for resolution of disputes. So I don't have a problem if INEC turns its eyes away from the alleged infraction. No problem, you have the court. INEC will have the final say on that matter. Yes, the Electoral Act empowers it to either declare an election inconclusive, incoherent, or to outrightly cancel it, or to declare a winner. It is within the purview of INEC to so do and to also decide which to do. You have the courts, my dear. Let's go to court and sort it out.
Now, let's get back again to the Daily Independent. Another one talks about why Atiku dumped Wike despite PDP recommendation. I mean, a lot of persons would think that Wike would have been the choice for the PDP, especially where you have persons saying he's been very, very instrumental to the development and sustenance of the party as it is today.
Let me tell you the truth, my dear. Let us not be sentimental on issues. Let's address them the way they are. It will be extremely difficult for Atiku, or it would have been extremely difficult for Atiku to have chosen a Wike as his running mate. Now, let's give a penetrating thought to some of the issues I'm going to raise. One, you have a Farah Dagogo, a strong supporter of Atiku, that is in detention today and is facing all kinds of short-term charges. We all know that Farah from day one said he was for Atiku. And as far as Atiku is concerned, whether he says it out or not, Farah is suffering because of it. That is number one, because those charges are trumped-up charges. Number two, you have a man who said the PDP should not consider founding father, but rather people that have sustained the party, and not people that left the party, went to APC, failed the election, and got back to PDP. Of course, that was an innuendo. He was referring to Atiku. That is number two. Number three, you said, over your dead body, are you going to be a vice president? You are going for the presidency and you are going to win it. That smacks of glutinous ambition. And how will you want such a person to be your vice? Number four, you are at loggerheads with all your brother governors. All of them. Then it's either you are abusing their fathers, you are abusing their mothers, you are abusing their wives, you are abusing, you are abusing every day. These people have a say in who becomes the vice president of the country. Even if they are not members of that committee, they have a direct line to Mr. Atiku. They will call him to say, please, even if we are not going to get it, don't give it to that man. He is not presidential enough. These are some of the issues. You go to church, you say, thunder, fire you, fire your papa. Which president you want to have such a person as a vice? So you take a lot of issues under advisement in the choice of the candidate. Somebody that has near impeccable, courteous public personnel. There is no perfect person, but near impeccable. Nobody can do somebody that is taciturn.
Okpanaban Kataria, I'm sorry, but quickly, in just a second or two or thereabout, because we're being prompted to move away for the want of time. Now, on the leadership, it talks about Kwankwaso will not be Obi's running mate. This is according to the NNPP. What do you think of this, bromance or romance, whatever it is you want to call it, with the Labour Party and the NNPP? Do you see a merger coming through, just as in 2015? The Labour Party and...
sorry, my dear.
Yes, I'm talking about your thoughts on the Kwankwaso not going to be Obi's running mate. Of course, we also hear the spokesman of the NNPP saying that they are in talks with the Labour Party and Nigerians would be satisfied with the outcome. But I'm asking you, do you see a merger with the Labour Party and the NNPP ahead of the 2023 elections? A replica of what happened in 2015?
Yes. There is a possibility, although it's still hazy right now. And the problem will be, will Kwankwaso want to be Peter Obi's vice? Will Peter Obi want to be Kwankwaso's vice? That is where you have a lockdown. That's where you have the political lockdown. Because Kwankwaso has declared for presidency already. Obi has declared for presidency already. Who is ready to subdue his in the other? That's the problem. Ego will come in here. Otherwise, I don't see a problem with a merger. And that would have been a very strong thought force. Because you have two major political bigwigs. Which is not plurality. So it would have been a major threat. The measure to APC and PDP. But with anybody ready or anyone ready to sacrifice his own presidential ambition to bring this dream to fruition, that is the conundrum.
Okpanaban Kataria, let's leave it at that. Will anybody be willing to sacrifice his presidential ambition to have that thought for us in 2023? But do they need to sacrifice? I mean, do you really need to have this person's projecting themselves as candidate at the end of the day? Can they take the backstage, become kingmakers? That also should be another question we're hoping to get answers. But that's so much we can take this morning on the front pages of a national dailies. Thank you so much, Okpanaban Kataria, for being part of The Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning, Mercy. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, Okpanaban Kataria is a public affairs analyst. We'll take a break now. But just before then, let's tell you what happened today in history. When we return, we'll head straight to our first major conversation right here. We're looking at the aftermath of the governorship elections in Ekiti State. Of course, it's very critical to the 2023 elections. Stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
It's not just the parents that have to do this. We put a lot of emphasis on government, we put a lot of emphasis on schools, but the service sector is completely left out of this conversation, and it's really important because they touch the families every day.
When we are making intervention, at the back of our mind, that plan that you're drawing up should also say on X amount of times or hours, you as the parents have to have X number of training.
Not just about the training, okay? So as we're collecting data in the center, you're collecting data at home. We give you the exact same plan.
From my own experience is that the children are usually the best advocates.
Absolutely.
Because the children have been informed and they have also experienced it, we find that they tend to go home and tell their parents the appropriate things to do.
We're still on The Breakfast and Plus TV Africa. Many thanks for joining us and also staying with us. The All Progressive Congress APC candidate, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, last night emerged the winner of the Ekiti State governorship elections by a landslide. Oyebanji beat his closest rival, Mr. Segun Oni of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, by at least 100,000 votes. The People's Democratic Party, PDP candidate, Honorable BC Kolawole, came third. The election was marred by vote buying, which saw the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, arresting 2 people, including a chieftain of the PDP in Ado Ekiti, following alleged attempt to induce voters and cause violence. The election, however, witnessed high turnout of voters and heavy security presence as the electorate trooped out to vote for their preferred candidate, who will occupy the government house and pilot the affairs of Ekiti State for another 4 years. Now, we're being joined by a guest, Paul Ejime, International Affairs expert and analyst, all the way from Abuja. It's good to have you join us this morning, Paul Ejime.
Thank you for having me, Mercy.
Well, let's get your overall thoughts on the elections, the Ekiti State elections, and of course with the candidate that emerged, the Ekiti people decided, and you have Biodun Oyebanji, who is the governor-elect.
So I think it is not surprising that the APC candidate won. Probably what is there could be the surprise is the margin of victory, but at the same time it is an APC state, and with a governor that is considered to be well rooted, and so he delivered, followed by SDP and then PDP. But again, you see that each time you find consolidation of this incremental improvements that is happening on the electoral process. For instance, with the beavers, making it now impossible or near impossible for people to rig. And then with this is the first election, by the way, under the new Electoral Act 2022. The dispute and controversy that went before it was passed, and it's still a work in progress because there are still some issues around primaries and, statutory delegates or direct or indirect. But you see that each time there seems to be a progress, something happens. And no thanks to the politicians. You find now that it's the inducement, continuous vote buying was, massive, if you ask me. We'll find EFCC going in to arrest people, fine. But, of course, you will expect some, misbehavior or politicians trying to outdo themselves to win. Because for them, politicians is about election and the next election and then winning. They never talk about losing an election. They have somebody to blame for that. But you see, there was, it's a case of demand and supply. The politicians are there inducing voters, telling them if you give us or you vote for us or you give us your card, we will give you money. And that was what happened. So the demand was there, and then the gullible voters decided to play along. So much so, the ingenuity is here. They told them, just go vote, after casting your vote, slant your ballot paper in a particular way to show who you have voted for. Can you see politicians, how far they can go in contravening laws? And then when it's supposed to be, that defeats what you call the secrecy of ballots. Because you were supposed to just go in there. Otherwise, why do you need to stay in the cubicle to mark your or tick the box and then fold it and then go and put it in the box? But here, they decided to. They asked them, don't make it very visible that we know that you have voted for us, so that after voting you can now come and collect money. These are the politicians for you. They never say never. They are always circumventing rules. But otherwise, I think the Ekiti should and ought to have been an improvement on other elections, because Beavers is now working, I mean, in 90%, more than 90% of the places, according to Yaga and all the other observers. I think it worked, and when it failed, it was fixed very easily. So we'll say kudos to INEC in a way, but it's still early days, because this is just one state and then the population isn't much. When you have nationwide elections, can this be replicated? And how do you handle this issue of vote buying by politicians? It's not enough to also go to the on polling day to arrest these people, parade them. Have there been what we have in the past? There haven't been any high profile or major, apart from some INEC officials that were jailed some time ago. There should be more convictions to serve as a deterrent. It hasn't happened. I think that is where I am not sure the new Electoral Act has addressed that. But I think as time goes on, that is the area they will address, to make sure that there is no impunity. When people rig by whatever form, any malpractice should be heavily punished to stop and to serve as a deterrent that unless until we get there or minimizing it, there's not going to be credible election in Nigeria, unfortunately. Merci.
All right. Let's talk about the number of registered voters. We're looking at 989,224 registered voters, according to data being made available. Now, Biodun Oyebanji won the election with 187,057 votes. If you look at the number of votes cast, 360,753. How do you have in a democracy, in a democratic society, and in a state, less than 200 people determining or deciding who becomes the governor? How do we explain this? What exactly is the situation? If you look at the number of persons who registered and the number of votes cast, we're not talking about valid votes now, but we're looking at all the votes that's cast. 989,224, juxtaposing that with 360,753. Should we call this voter apathy?
So this is one area. It's not just in Nigeria. I think it's across the world, where it is the fact that people, the electorate, the voters are losing confidence and trust on politicians, in government. That trust gap that exists. That is why people sometimes they say, well, listen, even when we vote, our vote does not count, so why do we bother? And so on and so forth. But by not voting, they are also making a decision, they are voting. And that is why, for instance, I think from official reports, the turnout is about 37%, which is an improvement on the 33 of the previous time. But it is still very low, because it says a lot about the integrity and of an election if this type of low numbers are the ones that determine who governs. It defeats the purpose of the majority that we are talking about. So if people have registered, they have to make sure that they go and vote, and so that their vote will count. So, but that is where I think some organizations like the European Union, they are now supporting the process, supporting INEC and supporting the political parties in a way to raise voter education. Is very critical to let citizens understand that it is their civic responsibility. It is their right to register, not just to register, but to also vote. Because by doing so, they are taking part in the decision-making of who governs them. if you left it on your own and say, well, you are not going there, you are also voting. And then allowing it to those who, the politicians will even capitalize on that and do what they have to do. So there is the EU, support to Nigeria's democratic governance. That is now they have a phase 2 of that program. And I think one of the areas that should be tackled, as it's been tackled, is on voter education. To raise awareness around political awareness, not just education, but also to let the people understand why they must register, why they must vote. And then, I don't know who said it, that politics is too much an important thing to be left with politicians, because they will mess it up. They're only thinking about themselves, their family, and the next election, and about winning. They never understand that there is a next time. They want it now, and eternal now, to win and win and win and win. If you tell them, well, if they don't win, they have somebody to blame. For instance, those who are now inducing voters with money, if they fail, they will still have either the electoral umpire to blame, or they have one or two things. They never blame themselves. So I think everybody, all stakeholders, the politicians, the political parties, INEC itself, the civil society, the media, everybody has a role to play in raising awareness about the need to ratchet up the number of those who have registered and then who vote during elections. Because that way, you leave no room now. The room will be squeezed about the possibility of politicians going now to manipulate. Because if you leave this gap of about 63% of the people who voted, who registered not voting, you see there is a possibility of somebody manipulating with the figure. But when you have a mass, high turnout, that tendency and that possibility is reduced. So don't just sit at home. The youths, I'm glad that they are coming up if you notice what has happened in the past couple of months, coming out to go and register. Although they are doing it late, in Africa, in Nigeria, it's always lastminute.com. People rush. Even so, I think it's an encouragement that they are now seeing that their voice should be heard. And how do you do that? Going to register in high numbers, turning out en masse to vote, and then staying there to protect your votes. Make sure that if anybody is trying to induce you, you report them to the authorities. Then the authorities will take it to the next level to prosecute those that have been arrested and jail them, convict them, and let them serve terms. That is the only way you end impunity. That will, try to bring back the confidence, the trust in the electoral process, and then the consolidation of democracy.
Well, everyone is hoping that it's a good thing that you were seeing the movement of having PVCs. And so if you've not gotten your PVC, it's very important that you get it. That movement is still ongoing. But does it also translate into going out to cast your vote? We have seen that in the 2023 elections, where you have almost 1 million persons being registered, but not even close to 500,000 casting their votes. Very sad. And deciding who becomes the governor of a state. And in this population, we see the videos of vote buying and vote buyers, mostly young persons who are bragging and very happy to showcase all of that. But you have raised very valid point about education. Beyond the fact that we're asking that people, be part of the electoral process, they need to understand the dynamics of the process and the consequence that it holds for everyone. But let's also go to another issue, away from voter apathy. Another issue is the thought force. Now, there are several conversations about the thought force ahead of the 2023 general elections. And a lot of persons, political pundits, have described the Ekiti elections, including the Osun elections, which is yet to come, as very, very important to our elections. It's like it's going to be a reflection. Whatever happens now would just be, you know, a replica of what's going to happen in 2023. Another issue is that you have 16 candidates who are contesting for that particular position or thereabout, if I'm not mistaken. But it feels like everyone is looking beyond the 16. So Nigerians have been complaining about having a certain party. Maybe I should go ahead. The APC and the PDP being very dominant. And one would expect that Nigerians would have looked beyond these dominant parties, the binary options that we have, to something different. But 16 and then you still have the same. So do you see a possibility of a third force, being that it wasn't reflected in the Ekiti elections?
Well, it's probably too early, or rather too late for the effect to happen in Osun, which is happening. The election is on the 16th of July. But I can tell you that between now and it's been going on, there is something, a movement is taking place, something is happening that people are also taking, those who are political pundits, analysts are taking note of it. That if you call it third first or whatever you call it, there is the consciousness that things are not good in Nigeria. This is not where Nigeria ought to be in terms of governance, in terms of leadership, in terms of management of diversity, in terms of security, in terms of economic growth, in terms of poverty and unemployment, in terms of the fact that teachers have been on strike for more than 5 months and students are roaming the streets. In terms of the fact that the health system is underfunded and comatose, which allows those who can afford it to be they are now traveling abroad for what you call medical tourism. In terms of the fact that it's becoming too difficult, I was reading a tweet by a professor from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a lady. She was saying that she's now buying diesel for 40 a week, 40,000 naira to run her car, and her salary is about 400,000 naira. If she uses that for 1 week, what will be left for her to use and then to cover all the other things? That is just a microcosm. That's a metaphor of what Nigeria is going through. That life has become too difficult. There is poverty in the midst of plenty. Nigeria is not zero poor. Nigeria is a country that has mismanaged. The resources have been mismanaged. But this cannot continue. And then if the electorates now see that there is a window, these two parties have been tried since 1999. Both have had, I don't know how many years they've had. If things have not improved, perhaps they're also looking somewhere else to see whether there is a window of opportunity to try another, if you call it third first, fourth force, or whatever force. But the bottom line is that things are not working in Nigeria as it should be. Nigerians are suffering, and then Nigerians are dying, both from hunger and insecurity. Every now and then you hear about kidnappings, you hear about killings in churches, in mosques, in markets, everywhere. That is not the Nigeria that many people know. Or it's not the Nigeria that the youth should be looking up to. The youths and everybody, they have a responsibility to say, listen, enough is enough. Let us, and how do you do that? You are not encouraging any violent change. The only way you can bring a positive change about is through election, through the ballot box. And if now people are waking up, 7 months before the next election might be too short, but in politics they say there is 24 hours is like a lifetime. Anything can happen. I hope, yes.
I mean, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
We have to move on. I'd like to share your thoughts on other issues because we have less than 2 minutes on this particular
Please go
segment.
ahead.
Now, another issue is the issue of voters' inducement or vote buying that's been reported. And we actually saw videos that emerged. Do you think that, the court actually have any concern with it, especially when INEC, I mean, why should INEC go ahead? That's the question. Declaring a winner when there's an infraction with the election. We're looking at the Electoral Act now. What do you make of this? And on the second hand, do you see all of this manifesting in 2023 elections?
Well, it takes, it's a collective responsibility. The conduct and the process of, a credible election. The electoral umpire, what do you expect INEC to do? You wanted INEC to go and then stop people who... the INEC is to conduct and organize elections. So
but if there's an infraction, Paul Ejime, if there's an infraction, should they go ahead and declare a winner when you know that the election has, infraction? That's the question Nigerians are asking.
Yeah, this is where the law allows that to continue. But remember that elections can also be nullified. If the authorities, the security, those who are in charge of securing this vote, can now prove that, because it's not by just staying it. You have to, the process, democracy allows for process. Even if you arrested somebody, you have to prove that he has committed a crime. So you are deemed innocent until you are proved guilty. So even when elections have been INEC, they are conducting and organizing that election, it is left now for the parties and for the security people to do the needful. And when they now see that the violation of the vote buying is enough to nullify the vote, you have seen where elections were held and then the results are nullified. It doesn't matter. Some people would have even been declared winners, but the courts can turn that down. But another thing is also the integrity of the court. So you see, everybody is a whole gamut. It's not just one person. It's not INEC. It's not just political parties. It's not the voter. Everybody must do their bit, their part, for there to be credible election. So I wouldn't say it is wrong to ask INEC to stop an election because there was, this, it's still an allegation. Even when you see them, even when you catch a thief, you still have to prosecute them and then prove them, take them to court. And the court is the only agency or institution that can, declare somebody guilty of an offense.
All right. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We have to let you go at this point. I wish we had more time to continue this conversation. Paul Ejime.
Thank you, Mercy, for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of the breakfast this morning, looking at the aftermath of the Ekiti State governorship elections with the winner, Biodun Oyebanji. Well, we definitely continue this conversation in another time, but that's the much we can take right now. And he's a public affairs and international affairs analyst. We appreciate your time. When we return, it will be time for us to look at sickle cells as a disease. Stay with us.
exposing our kids. Parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Tenancy agreement. So in a case that the landlord wants to evict the tenant, in a case there's no tenancy agreement, what happens in court?
Well, usually what the court will do, or what is expected of the landlord in that situation, is to look at the mode of payment. Number one, it is established, there is no controversy as to the fact that the tenant is a tenant of the landlord, whether or not there is a written tenancy agreement. The fact that there is possession, the tenant is in possession of the premises, and he has made some form of payment, which is rent, to the landlord for the use of the premises, that would create a relationship, a tenancy relationship between the landlord and the tenant.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
We're still on the breakfast this morning. Let's look at the issue of sickle cells, as June 19 was officially designated as World Sickle Cells Awareness Day. The International Awareness Day is observed annually with the goal to increase public knowledge and understanding of sickle cell disease and the challenge experienced by patients and their families and caregivers. Now, some 300,000 children are born with sickle cell disease in an annual basis, and around 3/4 of them are in Africa. We'll be looking at the efforts to combat the spread of disease in Nigeria, the worst affected country on the continent. And we do have Dr. Chima Oduka, who's a public health physician, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Dr. Chima, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about sickle cells now. According to reports, Nigeria in the sub-Saharan Africa is what's hit. Why is that?
We have a very huge population. A lot of Africans are Nigerians. You know, we are called the giants of Africa. And one of the reasons we're called the giants of Africa is because of our huge population. So this also translates to the number of people with the sickle cell anemia in our country.
Okay. Well, it's okay. A very valid point that you have raised right now. But what do we need to know about, the sickle cell disease?
Okay, sickle cell disease is a disease of abnormal hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein in our red blood cells. Our blood cells, the blood cells carry blood and oxygen to all the tissues of the body. Without oxygen in your tissues, in the body, you cannot, a person cannot function adequately. And the red blood cell with hemoglobin, which is a protein, helps to carry these oxygen and everything the tissue needs. So in sickle cell anemia, this hemoglobin in the red blood cell is abnormal. So normally it's usually shaped like a disc. It's spherical in shape. A normal red blood cell is usually round or spherical. However, with somebody that has sickle cell anemia, instead of it being round in shape, it becomes like a sickle or lucent shaped, like a crescent. So this abnormal shape affects how it transports oxygen through the blood. So oxygen is not able to, a normal red blood cell that is round is very flexible, is able to pass through the vessels. We have a lot of veins and capillaries that serve as like a conduit or a tube through which the red blood cell passes. And so it is very important for the red blood cell to be able to pass through these vessels. And the round shape enables this to happen. But in people with sickle cell anemia, because of the abnormal sickle shape, it's not able to pass through the blood vessels. And so tissues do not get the needed oxygen that they need. And so it causes a lot of problems in the body. And this is what leads to all the symptoms they have. So it's actually a very severe condition. It can lead to anemia. Also, because of the abnormal shape of the red blood cell, normally you have the red blood cell, which the normal one lasting for about 120 days in the body before it dies. But an abnormal sickle cell lasts for only 10 to 20 days. And so it's self-destructs. And so the person does not have enough red blood cell, does not have enough blood. So the people with sickle cell anemia are always anemic. They don't have enough blood. Because the tissues do not receive blood when they should, there's a lot of problems like pain. It can affect the... Yes, thank you for showing that image, which explains it clearly. So you can see how a normal red blood cell looks is red, and it's round. And then like the sickle cell, like I said, it's crescent shaped. So that abnormal shape accounts for everything that happens, most of the things that happen in sickle cell anemia. So it is a really very terrible disease. Most people that have it, if they are not treated, they do not live as long as their contemporaries. They battle with constant pain, constant anemia. It can lead to stroke. It can affect the vessels, the eyes, the kidneys. So it's really a very serious condition that we should not take lightly. And people that have the condition also suffer a lot. We can actually prevent this, and that's why I am here to tell our group. Yes, okay.
So before we get to that point of, preventing sickle cell, let's talk about what could be responsible. We have practitioners saying that it could be hereditary. I mean, what is really responsible for sickle cell? Is it hereditary, or it could be caused by several actions and behavior?
No. It's you can't. It's not something you get by your behavior. It is hereditary. So due to people in Africa, Black people tend to get sickle cell more often than other people because, there's malaria in this region, and a way to protect over time, the blood vessel found a way to protect itself from malaria and mutated to form an abnormal gene, which now confers the sickle cell gene. So it's not something you get because of your behavior. It is something you inherit from your parents. So there's something called the sickle cell traits. So that, I'm sure you would have heard of people say, what's your genotype? So your genotype talks about the kind of red blood cell you have. Are you AA? Are you AS? Are you SS? So there's something called sickle cell traits where people are AS. They have that S, that abnormal sickle cell trait in their blood, but they don't have the disease. They just have one. So they have a mixture of normal people with sickle cell traits who are AS have a mixture of good red blood cells and abnormal or sickle red blood cells. So, however, because of the good red blood cells they have, they don't usually come down with symptoms of the disease. They are protected from the disease. However, they can pass on this abnormal sickle cell gene to their children. So we keep saying you should know your genotype so that it can help you in your choice of who you get married to prevent it from happening to your children. So it is not something you do. It doesn't come from an abnormal behavior or something you fail to do. It's a condition you get from your parents, what the kind of gene they pass down to you.
So let's also talk about how to prevent it now at this point. Now that we know that it's hereditary, it has nothing to do with behavioral patterns. So how can we prevent it? Now, for those who are suffering this disease, is it preventable? Can it be cured?
Okay. First and foremost, yes, it can be prevented. And knowledge has made this possible. So we know what causes it. We know it's something you get from you inherit from your parents when you inherit the abnormal gene. We know that people that have AS, so it's more of if you did biology in school and the theories of the Mendelian theories of inheritance and all. If you have AA, there's this chart they draw for us where they show you a mom has AA and father has AA. So the father will give an A gene, one gene to the child, the mother gives another. So it's easy. If you have AS and you marry, you are advised to marry someone that has a very complete normal gene, which is AA, so that the chances of any of your children having sickle cell is zero. None of your children will have sickle cell if you marry someone with AA, because the person doesn't have another S gene to give you. However, if you are AS and you get married to someone with AS as well, there is a 25% chance that you will give your child one abnormal gene, which can be S, and the father or the mother, the other partner gives the child another abnormal gene, which is SS. So SS is the one that causes the disease, sickle cell disease, sickle cell anemia, SS, which is what we're trying to prevent. So if you want to prevent your child from having sickle cell disease, it is very important that you check you go for testing to know what your genotype is. If you are AS, it means you carry the gene for sickle cell anemia. You do not have it, you do not have the disease, but you are a carrier and can transmit it to your child. So if you are AS, it is very important that your partner must be AA. That is non-negotiable. Your partner must be AA. Because if your partner is AS, you have a 25% chance of transferring, both of you transferring the S gene that leads to SS genotype for your child. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. But if you are, say, AA, you have nothing to fear. You can marry anybody because you do not have an abnormal gene. And people that have the abnormal gene actually need you. Then if you already have SS gene, that you already have the disease, then of course you cannot marry a carrier that is somebody with AS. You have to get married to someone with AA. It's just a matter of you having counseling, genetic counseling. If this is complicated, I'm sorry, but the message I want you to go with is check your genotype, go for testing, know what it is. If you have AS, then you are a carrier. You need some genetic counseling as to the partner you get married to, who has to be AA. If you have SS, of course, you cannot get married to someone with AS. It has to be AA. So that's the only way of prevention for now that we know of.
All right, so doctor, you're saying that the way to prevent all of this, I mean, talking about sickle cells, is that we know our genotype and we're very, very cautious that we do not get matched with those who who have, you know, the S, the traits that can be passed on.
Any of the S's, yes.
Any of the S's.
Especially if you already have a S, yes.
Okay, I'm hoping that we have time. We get to that point and look at all the issues. I mean, the hurdles, the challenge that we're faced with when we talk about preventing all of this. But another issue is for those who are living with those who are living with it, we're talking about the SS now. They are already patients. They are carriers of this. What can they do? I mean, those who are infants and those who are already adults, most times we'll find out that persons with this disease don't even live long. So even when they're children and then they get old, at some point their life has been cut short. But is there anything that they can do so they can have longevity? I mean, they can live long and be like regular people.
Yes, of course, definitely. With healthcare, modern science has afforded us ways, since we know what causes their illness, they need to go to the hospital. They need to be counseled as to how to live. So they need to be counseled as to their diet, take a lot of water, drink lots of water. So people with sickle cell anemia, sickle cell disease, are usually counseled to take a lot of water. So when you drink a lot of water, it helps the blood to flow better. We are advised. So there's a lot of lifestyle changes. So we say, okay, don't stay in very cold environment or very hot environment. And of course, there are drugs we have now that can increase chances of living longer.
So
hydroxyurea.
Let's take it in two dimensions. The non-pharmaceutical, you have talked about water, and then we talk about the pharmaceutical. So can you take that in that, you know?
Okay, so the non-pharmaceutical lifestyle changes like drinking lots of water, so you're always hydrated. People that dehydration, when you don't have enough water, tends to increase the tendency for the blood to even not flow as well as it should. So drink lots of water. Avoid very cold or hot temperature that can affect the blood cells. Go constantly for checkup to know your PCV, packed cell volume, because people with sickle cell anemia tend to have low blood, circulating blood, and anemia, of course, can kill. So you need to check your packed cell volume regularly, and of course, there are multivitamins to take that can help you to increase your blood level. The whole idea is you need to see a doctor. You need to have a doctor that is managing you, because I can't tell you all the things you need to do now. Just go to a clinic, a hospital, and your doctor will counsel you based on your own situation. So some people tend to have, ulcers, leg ulcers. Some people tend to have acute chest syndrome. There are a lot of things involved. So see a doctor, your doctor, who will counsel you appropriately. But there are definitely measures you can take. There are also drugs. Now, I'm going to the pharmaceutical. There are also drugs, which I cannot even tell you now because you cannot buy them by the counter. A doctor needs to prescribe it for you. So there are also drugs you can take. Science has told us that can help those abnormal cells to convert back to fetal hemoglobin that do not suffer the same thing as the abnormal one does. So there are drugs you need to take. So the same thing, go and see your doctor. So there are sickle cell clinics, where there are clinics dedicated to just sickle cell anemia. So these professionals, they know all about the physiology, the pathology, so they are in the best position to advise you. Also, during pain episodes, sickle cell anemia patients have a lot of pain. So there are some drugs you can take for pain relief. Your doctor will also tell you that.
So how about yes, some people say that bone marrow transplant is also another way to cover it.
That's curative. So there's no cure right now, but there's no, all these drug things I'm telling you are just conservative management, but the definitive treatment is the bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant, but it has its own risks also. So before that is done, like I said again, it's a possibility. It gives cure, 100% cure rates. So yes, there is a cure, but it has its own risks. It has its own risks. And so before that decision is made, the clinician or the doctor has to review your case and see if the risks outweigh the benefits for you.
Well, but what's the cost of managing patients with the sickle cell disease in few seconds, because we're out of time? I mean, the cost. You have a lot of people complaining about the fact that it's quite expensive. And I'd like you to tell us just in no time.
No, I can't give you a figure because this also, I can't put a figure. Of course, it will be expensive because you have to go for, it depends on where you are taking your treatment from. If you are going to a private facility, or you're going to a government hospital. So I can't give you a cost, but of course it will cost some money to have good care. And the stem cell transplant too, if you choose to do that, it's very expensive. But I can't give you a cost per se. No, I can't do that.
So in other words, you're saying that it's very expensive?
It's not the average. Our healthcare system can give you the care you need. It's not out of reach. It's not like people have sickle cell anemia, they're surviving. Poor people have sickle cell anemia, they're surviving. But of course, where you assess treatment from determines the cost. So I cannot tell you this is the cost. There's no disease I can actually tell you that this is the cost. Everything depends on your unique situation, on what you're having. Everybody's case is not the same.
Well, we have to let you go at this point in time. It's an interesting conversation, and hoping that we have more time to talk about this and look at all the issues. I mean, when we talk about how to prevent it, number one, you have talked about knowing your blood type. I mean, you know, where the category, where you belong, genotype, or however it is you put it. We also have religious and, traditional sentiments regarding all of that. But it will be a conversation for another day. Thank you so much, Dr. Chima Oduko. I hope I got that correctly.
Yes, you did. Dr. Chima Oduko, yes, and you're right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chima Oduko, for being part of the breakfast this morning and shedding light on the issue of sickle cell.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Chima Oduko is a public health physician passionate about improving the health and well-being of women, adolescent children, and she does this via medical outreach. She is an outstanding personality, also publisher and author and health speaker. Thank you once again for being part of the breakfast. That's the much we can take today on the show. We'll definitely return tomorrow with more interesting conversation. I hope you had a great time. I did have a great time this morning. I am Mercy Boko. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel to be part of the conversation. Visit Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. Have a great day. The news continues or comes through you way at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
I had
had no desire to study law, none whatsoever. I was more inclined to fine arts. My only ambition, I would say, was to become the chief prosecutor. For me, politicians are a bit too playful. That's what I believe. And since '99, we've seen how much investment in social events, in launching some streets that you just started, and the whole day will be spent on this occasion. British people are generally law-abiding. We are not law-abiding. So another problem of administration is that people don't follow the rules.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
SA Designs is a fashion accessory label that specializes in the design and creation of handcrafted bags and footwear. I knew I was going to do something in fashion. I didn't know what exactly it was going to be, but I knew I would be in fashion. If it's to be the cleaner in fashion, whatever, but I have to be in fashion. When we started off with just strictly bag making. But then you get people say, oh, can I get a matching shoe? And then over time, people say, oh, I would like to give my boyfriend a wallet, but I want it with Ankara or something. So over time, we had to listen to our customers and infuse their ideas into our brand. Okay, we wanted something with the African touch, with the Nigerian feel. We make leather bags. But if I'm making a leather bag and I put it in a store, if you don't know SA Designs is Nigerian, you probably think it's a foreign bag. So what's the point of promoting something that is not, if you look at, you can't link it to Africa, you can't link it to Nigeria. Wanted something to promote Africa, wanted something to promote Nigeria. We also want to empower our artisans here. So that's why we keep our content local, raw materials local, production local. We still get a lot of people from around the world ordering from our website. So I believe it's because of what we've built, the brand we've built over time that still speaks for us. In the last 3 years, we've done over 10,000 items. We've sold over 10,000 items to both corporate clients, retail clients, and wholesale clients.
Good morning. I am Messi Boko. This is the news brief. Terrorists have attacked worshippers at St. Moses Catholic Church in Kajura local government area of Kaduna State, leaving 3 worshippers feared killed. The terrorists also abducted many worshippers during the incident, which happened while the church was rounding off the first mass. One of the seriously injured persons was rushed to the St. Gerald Catholic Hospital, Kaduna. It was also gathered that the terrorists came in large numbers on motorcycles and shoot sporadically. They killed and whisked away the worshippers with many injured. Kaduna police spokesman, DSP Mohammed Jalij, could not be reached for confirmation of the incident.
Gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have reportedly abducted Honorable Ahmed Sani Toro, former Secretary General of the Nigerian Football Association, and the Garba Laya, former Golden Eaglets assistant coach along Abuja-Jos Road. Both men were abducted while traveling back to Bauchi after attending the wedding of the son of the former NFF President Aminu in Abuja on Friday. The abductors are yet to contact their families. Confirming the development, his friend, who did not want his name in print, said it was true they were abducted close to Raumio in Plateau State when they were returning to Bauchi from Abuja. Worshippers at the Adoration Ministry have protested the Catholic authorities' sanction consequent upon Francis Ejike Mbaka's attack on Peter Obi. On Sunday, they expressed their support for Mbaka, the spiritual director of the church. The supporters also called for the immediate removal of Bishop of Enugu. On Friday, Bishop Onoga announced a ban on activities at the Adoration Ground in Enugu. He said some of the teachings and utterances of Mbaka are not consistent with the teachings and faith of the Catholic Church. Mbaka drew the anger of his superiors after damning comments against Obi, a 2023 presidential hopeful. Following outreach, Mbaka in a lengthy open letter apologized to Obi and the Catholic Church for his outburst. Now, part of a three-story building at Ibukoy in Umuahia North, the local government area of Abia State, has collapsed after a heavy rainfall. The collapsed part was said to be under construction, but was believed to be of substandard materials, especially the rods. A neighbor said the rain started around 9:30 p.m. and was so heavy that visibility was poor and movement difficult, according to witness who spoke on condition of confidentiality. The owner of the building is from the neighboring local government and resides outside the country. He said the entire building had been under construction over a year. As the Nigerians join the rest of the world to mark Father's Day, parents have been charged to domesticate the boy child and not to make the girls feel inferior in any way. This was consensus of stakeholders at the Father's Day celebration and awards organized by Mother's Love Initiative, a non-governmental organization to celebrate fatherhood. The AMLI's Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Hatuna, paid a glowing tribute to fathers.
Today, we're celebrating fathers. And we are talking about, we are losing it to relate to the boy child because the boy child has been neglected. Even my Bible says that man is the head of the home. So if we invest time so much in raising up our girls, who will be the boy or the man or the husband that will be the head of that home? On this day, I want to appreciate every single father sitting here. Especially in this time, it's not easy. It's not. But we and my team want to use this opportunity to appreciate you, to thank you for raising wonderful boys. We are so proud of the boys.
Fathers, at the event found that parents pushing children from childhood into adulthood, stressing that children should be allowed to grow at their own pace.
Most of us, very early, we make up our mind that our children must graduate very early. So what do? We push them through school. They're supposed to start kindergarten at the age of 4. By 2, because we have to go to work, we're already sending them to kindergarten school, sending them to teachers to go and take care of them, take our responsibility, abdicate our responsibility to the schools, to those KD schools. And if they start kindergarten at 2, by 4, they're already in primary school. And that means by 10, if they had not even promoted double promotion, they're already in secondary school by 10. These are children that are too young for the curriculum they are going to face.
Parents need to step up their games. We need to be physically present. The economy is tough, without a doubt. We know what is happening. But you cannot take the part of the parenting life of a child. There are lots of things that parents need to do. So I encourage parents to please create time for their children, because our children, these boys, these children are the future.
Just the way you will bring up your girl child, bring up the boy child like that. To work, do chores in the house, grow up thinking about the house. His mind will not always be out playing football, even though I'm not against football. But you know what I mean, stay in the house, learn the politics and the economics of the home. That's what the girls are taught. Girls play around the house, they don't play too far from the house, but boys roam far. So when you domesticate the boy, it simply means that you let him do the things that girls do. Wash clothes, wash plates, sweep the house, clean the house, cook. That's what I mean by domesticating the child.
The celebration was both inspiring and interesting, especially the touches of innovation and thoughtfulness that mothers, wives and children put into celebrating the father figures in their lives. The Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaib, has stated that the task of building a nation must first start with building our homes. He called on fathers to amplify those things that will unite the nation, ensuring that they imbibe the culture of godliness in their homes by bringing up their children in the way of the Lord. This is a principle he believes is a pinnacle in an effort of dealing with the issue of insecurity in the country.
We'll imbibe that culture of strengthening family and making sure that the virtue of God is enacted in our family. The Boko Haram of our time will be history. The banditry of our time will be history. Kidnapping will be history. Yahoo Plus will be history, because we'll have grown up in the way of the Lord. So we as Father, as we celebrate Father's Day today, let's go back to our various homes and be the true head, not by might, but by imbibing a culture of unity and godliness in our family.
Jesus is regarded as the head of the church, and we are the body of Christ. When he preaches the body of Christ, and we say amen, we are expected to become what we see, to allow Christ not only to dwell in us, but also to transform us, to becoming more and more united with one another.
Yega Africa says official result of the Ekiti governorship elections are a reflection of voters' choice at the polling unit. The civil society organization said this in a tweet on its official handle on Sunday afternoon after hours that the election results were announced. He said the official result would not have tallied with Yega Africa's estimate range if there were changed at the ward local government or state coalition center. Yega's comment comes after the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, declares Biodun Oyebanji of the All Progressive Congress as the winner of the exercise. The returning officer for the election, who is also the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Professor Kayode Oyebode, said Oyebanji got 187,057 votes to defeat his closest challengers, Shegu Oni of the Social Democratic Party and Bisi Kolawole of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP Chief Shegu Oni, and the candidate of Action Democratic Party, ADP, Kemi Elebute, have rejected the result of Saturday's governorship elections, saying the outcome will be challenged at the tribunal. Oni made this known through his state coalition agent, who was the Attorney General of the state, while speaking with newsmen on the outcome of the election. Similarly, the candidate of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, in the election, Kemi Elebute, said that the victory of Biodun Oyebanji in the just concluded election was tainted with vote buying and corruption. The SDP candidate said that the result, as declared by INEC, did not reflect the true decision of the people, lamenting that the process was allegedly marred by financial inducement. The Police Service Commission has commenced the performance of the policeman deployed for the just concluded governorship elections in Ekiti State. The Commission said the poll was largely peaceful and orderly. According to the PSC, the Nigerian Police Force, in collaboration with sister agency, including the Nigerian Army, the NSCDC, and the DSS and the FRSC, conducted itself in a professionally and in a satisfactory manner. Thousands of APC supporters and leaders have stormed the presidential wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, to welcome Senator Bola Tinubu, the party's presidential candidate. Tinubu, a former governor of Lagos State, is returning to his home state for the first time after he clinched the APC presidential ticket. Tinubu defeated 13 other aspirants, including Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, to clinch the APC presidential ticket for 2023 elections. Some of the personalities who waited to receive the former governor at the airport were Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, Lagos Deputy Governor Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, and APC Lagos State Party Chairman, former Minister of Defense Senator Obanikoro, party leaders, local government area chairmen across the state, and traditional rulers, among others. The candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC for the 2023 Bayelsa West Senatorial District election, Wilson Ayakpo, has advised Nigerians to de-emphasize religion and vote for those who have the willingness to transform the country. Wilson said that politics of religion is anti-democratic and does not support the growth of Nigeria, and as such should not be the yardstick for the electorate to elect their next leader. Our correspondent Jesse C. completes this report.
With the successful conduct of presidential primaries by the political parties and the emergence of flag bearers and their running mates, another issue topping national discourse is that of religion. Some of the big political parties have come under serious criticism over a Muslim ticket, a Christian ticket, or for allegedly failing to honor the principle of rotation of power between the North and South. However, Wilson Ayakpo Dawiya, the senatorial candidate of the APC for Bayelsa West Senatorial District, says Nigerians should keep religion aside and vote for those who mean to develop the country.
Whatever religion, so far you have the ability to meet up what the citizens in Nigeria need. You have the ability to unite the country. You have the ability to put the house together and ensure day-to-day activities go on smoothly. And Nigeria, what we want is a better life, better country. Security-wise, we want our security to be in order. If that person is a beggar, so we don't mind. If that person is a Christian or Muslim, we don't mind. We just need somebody who have the quality to take care of the security, take care of the famine in the country, and unite the country.
It speaks on the zoning agreement between the people of Sagbama and the Kirimo local government areas and calls on the electorate to do the right thing. Wilson also maintains that his desire to represent Bayelsa West in the Senate is driven by his passion to make the right laws that will develop the senatorial district.
It is the turn of the Kirimo, and I know there are a lot of people in Sagbama that have integrity, that will stand for truth, and they are talking. They too, they are not keeping quiet. They say it's the turn of the Kirimo to produce the next Senate. And my advice to them is to stand by their word. When you go to our villages, you see our people in abject poverty. You see things are not going on well. You see the houses and bamboo house they are staying. They are just suffering. Our people need capital human development. That is the truth. And I tell you, that is what I stand for, to develop the person. Like, thank God some persons once that when that I use the advantage of that COVID-19 opportunity. Some person through that avenue, they were able to raise block house, and they are happy. And those are the things our people need. And also pass good laws that will benefit them, that will bring development to the various community. That is what our people need. Attract technical school, attract polytechnic. The only polytechnic we have in our library is not even functioning.
The lawmaker still believes that Bayelsa State will give the All Progressives Congress APC the highest number of votes in the South-South, just like in 2019. Jesse C, Plus TV News. With the success.
The Council of Elders, or Ohanaeze Ndigbo worldwide, says rotating the country's presidency within its 6 geopolitical zones should be made constitutional for equity, justice and fairness. The chairman of the council, Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, said this while briefing reporters at the end of its extraordinary meeting in Abuja. He said limiting the zoning of the country's presidency to the north and south is vague and should therefore be discouraged. Iwanyanwu said the council believed that it was agreed that the presidency should be zoned to the south in 2023 since the southwest and the south had produced the country's president. It was now the turn of the southeast. According to him, the southeast leaders did everything possible to convince the southwest and the south leaders of the need to produce the country's next president in 2023. The Governor Nasir El-Rufai-led Kaduna State government has dismissed 2,357 teachers who failed the recently conducted competency test. The state's Universal Basic Education Board announced the sack in a statement in Kaduna. The board spokesman, Haruna Mohammed, said they conducted a competency test for over 30,000 teachers in December 2021. She said that 2,192 primary school teachers, including the national president of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, Audu Ambar, had been dismissed for refusing to sit for the competency test. Ms. Mohammed said that some 165 of the 27,662 teachers that sat for the competency test were also sacked for poor performance. We take a quick break now, and when we return, more news. Please stay with us.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Riders in Mali killed at least 20 civilians in attacks on villages near the northern town of Gwar over the weekend, while a landmine killed a UN peacekeeper in the troubled region. A local official blamed the attacks on jihadists and put the death toll at 24, saying the killings occurred at Ebeka, some 35 kilometers, 23 miles north of Gwar, the region's main town. The official described the general panic in the area, the situation as very concerning, and civilians are fleeing the area and fearing further violence, as described. Ethiopian state-appointed Human Rights Commission says a video circulating on social media showed government security forces carrying out at least 30 extrajudicial killings in December 2021. The video, widely shared since Friday, showed a group of men wearing army combat fatigues forcing men off trucks parked on the roadside and shooting them. Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, citing conversations with witnesses, said government security forces shot and killed at least 30 people who were members of the OLF group. Ethiopian government spokesman, Tuller military spokesman Colonel Gannett, and a regional administrator spokesman did not immediately respond to the request for comment. And outside Africa, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said on Sunday, June the 19th, that he expects Russia to intensify his attack on his country.
This is why Kyiv awaits a European Union decision this week on granting Ukraine the status of candidate country. European Union Commission gave its blessing to the war-torn country on Friday, June the 17th, taking a step closer to joining the European Union. It's the most drastic geopolitical shift to result from Russia's invasion. Ukraine applied to join the EU just 4 days after Russian troops poured across its border in February. At least 25 people were killed by lightning or landslide over the weekend in Bangladesh, while millions were left marooned or homeless in low-living northeastern part. The country faced the worst floods in recent history. In its neighboring Indian state of Assam, at least 17 people were killed during the wave of flooding that began this month, police officials said on Sunday. Many of Bangladesh rivers have risen to dangerous levels, and the runoff from heavy rain from across Indian mountains exacerbated the situation. Thousands of policemen, army personnel have been deployed to parts of the country to help search and rescue efforts. About 105,000 people have been evacuated so far, but police officials estimated that over 4 million people were still stranded. The Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, has said the proposal of telecommunication operators for 40% end-user tariff on services not realistic. In 2022, the operators acting under the aegis of the Association of Licensed Telecommunication Operators of Nigeria, in a letter to the NCC, had proposed a 40% increase in the cost of calls, short message services, SMS, and data as a result of the rising cost of running a business. Based on their proposal, the price floor of calls will increase from 6.4 naira to 8.95 naira, while the price cap of SMS will increase from 4 naira to 5.61 naira. The request has been rejected by stakeholders in the industry, except operators. And that's it on the news brief. Many thanks for being part of the news. We do appreciate your time. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. Many thanks for watching. I am Mercy Bokbo. Have a great morning.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you. So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
In a world still recovering from the COVID-19 global lockdown of 2020, 2021 has been a year of many sporting events finally returning to some semblance of normalcy. While still living in the shadow of a pandemic that continues to evolve and force different countries to adapt their responses to emerging strains of the virus, sports organizers have created their own protocols in adherence to world government health policies to safeguard and allow for their respective sporting events make a comeback. Here is a countdown of the 12 biggest events that happened in sports in 2021. In number 12, Chelsea FC became first club to have both male and female teams make it to the finals of the UEFA Cup competitions. Many recall the glorious moment of the All-English final when Kai Havertz scored the only goal of the match to hand Chelsea FC a win over Manchester City.
He's through here. He's around Anderson and he must